Hi everyone, this is Karak from Angrycentaurgaming, and I'm here again to assault your ears with another review directly from the crystalline sugar and saccharine-coated world of Skylanders. That's right, boys and girls, this review is for Skylanders Trap Team, the newest of the Skylanders titles to grace the market with its wallet-busting collectibles. Remember that this review is caffeinated, which means it's coming at you high on illegal substances, quick like a virgin prom night, and with little thought towards commas or pauses. Brace yourself, shit's about to get unreal. So Skylanders Trap Team is another in the long line of Skylanders titles that started years ago and seems to have no end of tie-in and collectibles, a virtual collector's nightmare and young child's dream. The Skylanders games are what it would be like if you injected LSD directly into your cerebellum and then chased it with crocodile and peyote. But is Skylanders a cheap tie-in with nothing really of substance, a game made more to collect the shiny gold from our wallets? Or does this game offer something of substance that means forking out $75 to $99, well worth it? But because who doesn't like playing with real and digital toys? I mean, come on, that's right, no one, unless you're a heartless bastard with a cold piece of coal where your heart should be. Let's get this hot dog wagon rolling. We have enemies to capture, skills to upgrade, and LSD on our screens. Up first is graphics. I now know what a game would look like if an entire third grade class was sent out to play on a playground after Pablo Escobar laced the slide and swings with crank and replaces sawdust with that shit that burns your tongue on Sour Patch Kids. The game is one of the most lush in color, deep in overall polished games I think I have seen on the next-gen systems. It offers somewhat of a jump from the past titles that I didn't expect as well. Seriously, after playing Infinity on my Xbox One with its 7 frames per second world updates and janky-ass stuff just going on the screen at all times, I wondered just how much Skylanders would trigger my rage button, like someone holding their thumb against my adrenal gland and then showing me my spam comments section on YouTube. But holy shit, this game looks and responds fantastically. You gotta hand it to the Skylanders designers. Their eclectic design makes the world look almost like a cartoon, and aside from one or two somewhat standard characters, every one of the Skylanders I've collected, as well as the enemies you trap, have looked fan-fucking-tastic, to a level of degree you really don't expect from a game that sort of demands you spend more than the initial purchase just to see it all. The worlds are a lush mix of Viva Pinata, Rayman, and some kid spilled watercolors after he ate like 50 crazy straws, and does a spectacular job of bringing you into the world and keeping you visually intoxicated the whole time. Think a private lap dance with extras from Presley Carter without the messy finish. The fact that it all runs at a rock-solid frame rate means that you can see the visual polish and shine regardless of what you're doing, how many enemies are on the screen, and if it's just flowers unfolding to make a fucking bridge. Of special mention are the characters themselves, with some of their designs being simply fantastic and over the top in a way that speaks to someone not growing up much in the development team, and I thank them for that. This is exactly the kind of world I wanted to see and play since video games were created, and some games like Mario 64 and one or two of the Sonic games have hit it, as well as Crash and Spyro. But the fact that I'm mentioning Skylanders in the same breath and sentence should tell you that it made an impression on me. Sound, music, and voice. The sound is excellent, and at the same time it makes me a bit sad that other games with one single character can't get their sound right, but this game with boatloads of characters, environmental effects, skills, and enemies can hit it out of the park like this. Even the sound of you picking up the random drops in the game has a satisfying and almost sugar-laced ting to the effect, which makes you smile. Larger characters thunder across the low end of the sound spectrum with low bass roars and almost deafening explosions, while the smaller characters keep the middle ground and high end of the sonic spectrum filled with yells, lasers, tomato guns, and much more. I seriously don't know what shooting a tomato out of a fucking tube sounds like, but if this isn't it, I'll be damned. Excellent production throughout. Whether trapping a foe, leveling up, going through a menu, buying a skill, or just smashing your double hammers made of urine-colored stone into the ground, the sound is epic. Music. Strangely enough, this surprised me, but we have another hit here. This is high on crank, low on attention soundtrack with orchestral pieces, short on length but high on percussion, that hit and smash and then move to the next track or area with a subtlety that seems like it would be hard to lock down accurately, but somehow they did it. It's got an almost stomping sound of the music that feels heroic and a bit grand at all times. They could have easily phoned this in. For the most part, many people would not have noticed, but instead an actual very high degree of attention seems to have been spent on the music, and it shows throughout. Really well done. Voice. Aside from one specific character, this is phenomenal voice work. Sadly, one of the main characters that gives you many of the quests was just a bit too over the top for me and became grating. I'm not going to nitpick and say it's bad, it's not, it's just a bit much. While every other single character in the game has their own voice and one-liners, some are absolutely gut-laugh funny, especially some of the enemies you trap. When other games can't seem to hit this, despite only having a few talking characters in the game, it's fairly impressive. These guys hit it off with so many characters doing so much so well. The big dog gameplay. So in Trap Team, the name of the game is using elemental traps to capture enemies you face in an assortment of levels as you smash, laser, shoot, plot, body slam, burn, fly, freeze, flip, and punch your enemies into explosive colored elements like digital piñatas, filled with joy and tinkly bits. As with all Skylanders games, you can jump in and out at random, even during cutscenes, to use different characters to access specific points and locked areas in each level, which pushes a very great deal of replayability into the game that would have been worrisome and feel forced if those unlocked areas didn't also actually have very large and tangible levels of their own. Add to the fact that you can switch out for a short time to a villain trapped in your elemental trap who has their own skills and abilities, and you're looking at a game that will take even ADD-ridden 12-year-olds on winter break some serious time to get all the way through. As you collect items and experience, you can level up, and all the Skylanders, past and present, work with the game, and they all have their own skills lists, offering you an insane cast of freakish denizens of the sugary deep. I mean, it's almost an insane level of things you can collect, like trinkets and hats, which some give you bonuses, but the special skills and later the pseudo-career paths you can choose just adds a level of detail that most game designers would throw their hands up and say fuck it at. The game plays from a central hub that's not only saturated with its own mini-games, level-ups, and mini-levels of its own, but grows as you conquer levels and unlocks new areas. What starts small becomes a massive sprawling castle of shops, music mini-games, and strange playgrounds gone wrong for you to smash through. Now, the trap mechanism itself, though at first seemingly quite shallow, is something I have to say impressed me on multiple levels. First, when you trap the enemies, you can use them, and that means you aren't buying these guys as pieces. That is actually rather fantastic when you think about it, as they could have just flooded the market with another 30 plus villains to buy, but instead you trap them and then can play them for periods of time in the game. You do have to collect specific elemental traps, which will cost extra, but one trap of water can collect any of the water enemies, so again it's still cheaper that way than releasing a ton of miniatures. A quick trip back to the main base and you can switch out whatever villain is in your collection and use them. Additionally, those villains are keys to quests that are everywhere in the Skylanders world, so not only are they a boss and a temporary playable character, but they are also a quest item for specific quests. It really is a good stretch of the use of the characters and never felt bogged down or unnecessary. Battlegrounds, which are now tower defense-like areas that require a good deal of skill, but reward you with a boatload of experience and money for your time. Now, if the main game is a sugar rush, then the Battlegrounds is getting down on your hands and knees and just burying your fat face horker deep into a box of sugarcane and never coming up for air. They are balls to the walls, barely any pauses battle areas that pit you or you and a friend against ever-increasing odds that begin easy and then develop into nut-crunching tactics requiring bloodbaths of gold coins and glowy orby experience things. The real height of the enjoyment of Skylanders is a trinity of three things: your experience and expertise at using your character, the excellently crafted worlds and battle arena, and the fact that an insanely high polish has been put onto everything. Now, Disney Infinity and Skylanders don't actually share a great many things, with Infinity 2.0 being fairly lean in its playsets, but open-ended and creative in its toolset with collectible characters as well. While here the world of Skylanders has those same collectibles, but it's a very engaging game with game-like elements throughout it. Funny enough, as an adult, the game was still very difficult on higher levels, or when facing some bosses, or when taking out specific battle arenas, and my hat's off to the designers that they didn't get lost in the typical open world, leave it to the player to create everything mindset, and instead took what they knew and built on it. Of special mention are the mini-games, which include things like a musical mini-game and a fairly fun, if basic, card collection mini-game. They are great additions, and I found myself doing them not only because they were actually fun, but because their level of polish matched the main game, making them feel integral and honest-to-God parts of the larger whole, which was really surprising. One thing that Skylanders needs work on is one thing that sometimes comes up to frustrate, and that is the ability to jump. Whether a small character or a large one, everyone in the game jumped like they had been eating from the Biggest Loser finals buffet table, and even the smallest characters felt like they were made of lard, wet sand, and old machine parts. This impacted some of the jumping areas and navigation within the level. It wasn't a game ender, but it was frustrating to leap, fall, run back to the area, leap, fall, run, fall back, leap again, leap across but not think you made it, so you twisted the thumbstick, so now you fell again. Additionally, switching between totems, characters, skills, and remembering who has what amount of money to buy what skill, what level they are, and if they're a main character from the game so you can get into a locked part, or one of the older ones, can become tedious, and a simple menu could have been developed to let you quickly look at everyone you've ever used in the game and where they stand in very high detail as a list. Instead, some of that data is in nested menus that can be a chore to pick through. The base updates lightning fast, however, so that impact is at least marginalized, and it's a problem of convenience and not a problem of the actual game or its overall mechanics. It's always better to have too much of something than not enough, enough unless it's herpes. So what does Skylanders Trap Team get right? The graphics are simply phenomenal and offer an atmosphere of pure crank and sugar. The sound, music, and voice are great, with 1 to 2 of the characters where your mileage is going to vary. The gameplay is open-ended enough to encourage replayability, but not so open-ended that you wonder why you're doing the fucking dev's job for them. The trap mechanism allows you to play a massive assortment of other characters without actually having to buy them. What does Skylanders get wrong? The characters feel like they're on Jupiter when they're jumping. You still need to buy a couple sets to see everything, and that includes totems to catch the villains. The game's difficulty ramps up unexpectedly on some bosses and in some levels, and it is expensive no matter which way you slice it. So as always, I rate games on a buy, wait for a sale, rent, or close your wallet and say no thank you to the cashier rating scale. Listen, the game is expensive. It's $74 fucking dollars. That's 14 above premium prices for most games, and for that you get 2 characters around this that flashes at you like you're slipping into an old LSD funk, and 2 totems. As my job is to identify if something is worth the money they ask, I have to say this is actually a wait for a sale. I love the game, and some could say you're paying $14 for those extra bits, but goddammit, it's $74 for the standard pack and $99 for the main pack. Since you're bound to not get all of the elements in your initial purchase unless somehow time and space are splitting, then you're bound to be paying some serious cash to get the extras. Cash that could be better spent buying it used or when this game drops in price if it does. That is no ding to the simply amazing polish that's in the game, but when $60 is already overpriced, getting 2 figures and 2 blocks of plastic that will leave you missing out a good deal of content anyway, I just can't recommend a full price purchase. Now, I know this review is bound to put people up in arms. I can't tell someone to spend $74 when more than 1/2 to 3/4 of an amazing game are stuck behind a very expensive paywall. It's unacceptable. So that's it, peeps. A game that is amazing in almost all ways, held back by such a high price that it's impossible to recommend at its full price. Now, I have seen everything. Actually, I've never seen Jennifer Lawrence nude, so that's one more thing. Oh wait, yeah, I have. If you like the review, hit like. If you disliked it, hit dislike. Share it if you can. This is Karak calling from somewhere deep in Skylander land, unable to get through a door because I don't have the right figure to do it, and I don't have the $15 to get through it. Peace.